Hey guys, today I'm going to be reviewing House of the Dragon, Season 2, Episode 4, The Red Dragon and the Gold. What a badass title, you guys. Hot damn. And you guys, we're heading straight into spoiler territory. If you have not seen this latest episode, come back at a later point, have a discussion with me. And also, I do want to say as well, I have not read the original Fire and Blood source material by George R.R. Martin about what happens in the books with these characters. So that's another thing. If you're kind of worried about that, about me spoiling anything from the books, have no fear, because I've not read the books. I'm going into this just as blind as most people are. So yeah, let's get going with my thoughts and feelings on the Red Dragon and the Gold. Oh, so freaking good, you guys. Everybody has been bitching and complaining about how slow this season has been, but I have personally been enjoying the slower aspects and nature of the season. I'm a sucker for this sort of stuff. I love people just sitting around at tables and talking and strategizing. I love deep character stuff, because then when you get to big, huge, epic episodes like this, it makes it so worthwhile, because you have spent that time with the characters and really developing them and fleshing them out, so that way you care about them. Because you don't want just spectacle. You don't want spectacle for the sake of spectacle. You need to have all the background stuff to support that spectacle, so that way it blows you away. So yeah, once again, heading right into spoilers. Rest in peace, R.I.P. to the queen that never was, Rhaenys Targaryen. Damn, girl, I am going to miss Rhaenys Targaryen, you guys. She was like the only person on Team Black with any damn common sense at this point. And seriously, what is the point of me supporting Team Black anymore when you have Aemond and Vhagar who just come right on in and they can just take anybody out with just one quick snap? Seriously, why am I even on Team Black at this point anymore after what I just saw in this episode? My God. We'll get to that. We will get to the battle, you guys. And yeah, in honor of the queen that never was, I definitely wanted to wear my House Velaryon t-shirt. Yes, I love their sigil. Seriously, I love their sigil with this seahorse looking concoction sort of thing. I love it. It's so cute and badass at the same time. Whew. Okay, can't you tell that I'm excited? I am so excited to talk about this fucking episode, you guys. And the notes have gotten worse. And I about went into a whole nother page. I about had to get out a whole nother sheet of paper to finish up my notes. I managed to squeeze it out all right at the very end of this, on the back of the page. Okay, seriously, this video is gonna be long. Let's get going. Okay, so we open the episode and we just go right into Daemon's hallucinations at Harren Hall. I wasn't expecting the episode to just open up like this, within a hallucination. We see Daemon, he's heading towards the Iron Throne in this hallucination, his deepest, darkest desire in some ways, that I think he tries to lie to himself about, but it's like he kind of wants it, he kind of doesn't. It's really confusing. And sitting here on the Iron Throne, we have Millie Alcock again, coming back as young Rhaenyra. And young Rhaenyra is sitting on the throne, and she's saying to Daemon, you're set on destroying me, all because your brother loved me more than he did you. Burn. Oh my God, just what a great Targaryen burn. And there is, what I'm loving about these hallucinations that Daemon's having, what I love about the hallucinations is the fact that all of this is all what Daemon is really thinking and feeling, but he's not admitting out loud to anybody, because he tries to put on this rough and tough exterior that he's a badass and he doesn't care about certain things, but it's like he doesn't want to let himself be emotional. I think he does. I think he sees emotion as a weakness. He sees guilt and shame as a weakness, so he tries to hide all of that. He tries to deny it. And And yeah, there is absolute truth here with what young Rhaenyra is saying. You know, you're so bent on destroying me because Viserys loved me more than he loved you, and I think there is a certain degree of truth in that. You know, Viserys. I mean, he loved Daemon too in his own way, but once again, going back to that conversation that Daemon and Rhaenyra had a couple episodes ago, that big, huge, great, epic argument, getting to the crux of things that Viserys, even though he loved you, he couldn't trust you. That's what it all kind of boils down to. And Daemon, it's displaying, I think, his level of guilt and shame that he has, that he's kind of influenced things. He's hurt and harmed Rhaenyra's cause by accident. You know, he didn't intend to do that. You know, the whole thing with blood and cheese and the accidental death of Jaehaerys. You know, his intent was, I want to take out Aemond. You know, I didn't intend for all this other stuff. So yeah, he realizes he made a boo-boo. He does feel bad about it, and he feels responsible that he is the cause for Rhaenyra being in the predicament that she's having trouble getting trust even from her own small council, you know. So I love that whole thing. And then what does Daemon do in the hallucination? He chops off young Rhaenyra's head, you guys. It was pretty dramatic and pretty powerful. I loved it. It's like deep down, it's like that's almost what he wants to do. He almost wants to kill Rhaenyra somewhere deep down in his psychology. You know, his mental headspace. You know, there's somewhere deep down in there he wants to destroy her and kill her, even though he really doesn't. So he slices off her head, and Rhaenyra on the ground, this was pretty great. On the ground, she's still sitting there with her eyes open, and she starts saying, this is what you've always wanted, isn't it? Again, deep down, Daemon kind of secretly desiring Rhaenyra being dead. Rhaenyra being dead would solve all of his problems in his own version of events. Now, does he really want Rhaenyra dead? No, I don't think he really wants her dead. Once again, this is part of just his mental headspace, where he's at, his level of guilt and shame, him kind of realizing how he controlled and manipulated Rhaenyra as a child. You know, all of this is just really digging deep down into his psychology, and I love it. So it's at this point in the heart of Daemon's hallucination that Simon Strong, he wakes up with Daemon, and they're heading off to go meet up with Oscar Tully, who is the grandson to Grover Tully, who we've got a mention of like in the last episode. And Simon Strong he's pretty much giving Daemon a news report, the Westerosi version of a news report. Like, this is what Criston Cole is up to. He's saying that Criston Cole has taken Stokeworth and Roseby. Yeah, Criston Cole, it seems like only a couple days have probably passed here between episodes, but yeah, Criston Cole has already just taken castle after castle after castle, and he's doing a great job at it, because what is Team Black doing? Nothing. So we get introduced to Oscar Tully, like I said, grandson to Grover Tully, and Daemon, it's like Daemon just wants a quick, easy army, and he just wants everybody to immediately bend the knee and do this and that. He's even sitting there saying to Oscar Tully, you know, why don't you just go smother your grandsire with a pillow and just get this over with so you can go ahead and take charge and you can go ahead and join with me. And yeah, the boy is like, why would I want to kill my grandsire? Oh my god, I love him, dude. So yeah, Daemon, he's so impatient. You know, that's the thing with Daemon. He is very, very highly impatient, and he just wants to get quick to action, especially after the news of what Criston Cole has accomplished. And Daemon hasn't accomplished a thing except take Harrenhal, which is still a pretty big deal, but Team Black is like still far behind at this point. So yeah, Daemon, he pretty much is saying point blank to poor little cute innocent Oscar Tully that you're just useless to me. What's the point of you if I can't use you right now? So then we move into our next scene here, and we get to reunite with Alan of Hull, and we have this really fascinating scene here with Rhaenys running into Alan, and she has figured out that Alan, is the one who saved Corlys, but Corlys has been hiding this little detail to Rhaenys, because I think what gets implied here, it's never like explicitly said, but I think what's implied is that Alan is a bastard child of Corlys. Yeah, guys. Oh my. And it seems like Rhaenys has always kind of known this. It seems like she's always known that Corlys has had his little various flings, that he has other bastard and children out there. But it still hurts her. You know, she's still hurt about that. She's still upset about it. She's upset that Corlys hid the fact that Alan is the one who saved him. You know, it's like, dude, just tell me that he's the one who saved you. Even though I'm upset with you for what you did and what your actions did, that you cheated on me, the thing is, I'm not going to take it out on Alan. It's not Alan's fault for your indiscretion, you know? So it was a pretty just bizarre scene with Rhaenys, I guess, meeting Alan for the very first time. Like, she just looked at him and touched his face. I loved his expression when she touched his face, because he was like, bitch, what are you doing? I love that whole thing. It's like she immediately, I think she could see Corlys in him. She immediately knew, hey, this is his bastard child. This is one of his bastard children. So yeah, is the other guy, oh god, I forgot his name. Why have I forgotten the other brother's name? I can't think of his name. I know Alan and Adam, that's it. So they're both brothers, so I guess they both have the same mother by Corlys, I think. So yeah, Rhaenys just downright says point blank to Corlys, I know who he is, stop denying him. She then tells Corlys that she's going to be heading to Dragonstone because Jace and Bela, they are just in desperate need of something, because the small council is just totally walking all over them here in Rhaenyra's absence. And yeah, even Corlys is really irritated, like, where the hell is Rhaenyra? Why isn't she doing anything? Why isn't she at her own small council? Because why are Jace and Bela having to deal with all this bullshit? You know, it's not really their job or responsibility. It seems like everybody is getting really frustrated with Rhaenyra, her inaction, and then yeah, this mysterious absence of hers. We all know where she went, but it seems like she didn't tell anybody about it. She might have told Rhaenys, I'm not quite sure. So after that scene, we do move over to Team Green, and we see that the Grand Maester, he's bringing Alicent some moon tea, and we all know the moon tea is for her because she's trying to keep from, you know, getting pregnant. Obviously, she's been sleeping around with Kristen Cole. But yeah, she's trying to play it off like, oh, I'm going to be giving this to someone else, you know? I think she's using, you know, especially what Aegon has done in the past, because we know Aegon has slept around with a bunch of other serving girls, he's raped a bunch of girls, you know, and I think she's kind of using that, like, oh, yeah, it's probably a serving girl that Aegon knocked up, so I'm gonna give her some moon tea, you know? It's not for me. But seriously, I think the Grand Maester, the way he was kind of like holding the moon tea and like putting it down on the table, and like just the awkwardness of the whole conversation with Alicent and the Grand Maester, I think he knows. I think he deep down knows that moon tea is for Alicent. It's not for some random serving girl that Aegon knocked up, you know? And this conversation plays out pretty interesting too, because she's asking him, do you believe Viserys wanted Aegon as king? Do you think he wanted him to succeed him on the throne? And the Grand Maester, I love the performance here, because he kind of takes a hesitation. He takes a pause, like, okay, how do I answer this question? He says that Viserys never really talked to him about it, which could be the truth, you know? Why would Viserys talk to him about it? You know, but at the same time, he probably did. Viserys, a lot of times, whenever he would get stupidly drunk, you know, he would just kind of sit and just start saying all sorts of things, and especially there near the end of his life, when he was on so much milk of the poppy, you know, the Grand Maester was the one always there with him. In those moments, Viserys probably was mentioning quite often his disappointment and frustration with Aegon, and yeah, Rhaenyra is who he wants on the throne, you know. But yeah, the Grand Maester is not going to admit that, obviously. As we saw at the end of last week's episode, Alicent and Rhaenyra, it's finally come to the conclusion it's too late to do anything about this war. We can't stop it, because as we saw once again, the season finale of season 1, Otto Hightower and the whole small council, they had been planning for years the usurpation of the throne, that they were going to put Aegon on the throne after Viserys' death. You know, they were planning that for years. And it doesn't help that Alicent has the whole misunderstanding, you know, with what Viserys says. So it's a combination of different factors that it's just too late to stop this freaking war. Because it was already in pre-production. You know, it was already in pre-production before the whole misunderstanding. And I think we see that a lot with Alicent in this episode, not only here with the Grand Maester, but then also later with her interaction with Larys. We'll talk about that in a bit. Yeah, I think Alicent is spending a lot of this episode really reflecting on the conversation her and Rhaenyra had, and those doubts are starting to sneak in. You know, what has all of this been for? And we do see Alicent take the moon tea, you guys. Okay, so moving back to Team Black, the small council, they're all irritated that Baela didn't kill Kristen Cole when she had the chance, because I think even us, the viewer, we were like, damn, Baela, girl, why didn't you just burn him to a crisp, for the love of God? But then the show would be over. It would just be easy and over and done with. Where's the fun in that? We don't want to see Kristen Cole dead just yet, right? Realistically, we want him still alive because he's causing so much great chaos and mischief. So the council's just irritated with Baela that she didn't kill Kristen Cole when she had the chance. And they're basically saying, we need someone to lead us. Our queen is absent. You all are really young and inexperienced. We need some sort of function here. We need leadership, someone to control this whole thing. And someone says at one point, I don't think it's Rhaenys, someone at some point says this council is rudderless. That is such a great metaphor there. It is rudderless, exactly. Because Team Green, for the love of God, even though Team Green are our villains, the thing is, I think Team Green, even though they have their arguments and disagreements, the thing is, I think they're much more united in their own way, and they're able to talk through things without too much argument, you know? But yeah, Team Black is one big hot mess. They are indeed rudderless. And then Corlys finally walks in, and it's terrible that it takes a man walking into the small council to calm down all these other men, because the small council, which is all men, they were sitting there just walking all over Rhaenys and Jace and Baela. You know, you have two women in there, and then plus Jace, who is young and inexperienced, that he doesn't entirely know what he's up to, you know? So the council was totally using that. You know, we have one inexperienced young boy and two women. We're just going to walk all over them. We're going to do what we want. We're going to say what we want. And it is, like I said, it's a shame that it takes Corlys, a man, walking into the room to shut all these guys up, because then they all get quiet and they all look embarrassed and ashamed. And Corlys just calls it out as it is. Y'all are trying to grouse and claw for power. I loved how that was worded, grouse and claw for power. And yeah, even though I was saying Team Green seems to have a bit more unity, I mean, they're clawing for power in their own individual ways as well, but I think they're a lot more subtle about it. Let's be real. I think they are all a lot more subtle about their power grabbing. So then we move to Kristen Cole. He has taken Lord Darkland's castle, and we get the first mention of calling Cole a kingmaker. Oh, what a title. Whenever I'm reading historical fiction books, you guys, I love when someone's like the kingmaker. So yeah, Kristen Cole is the kingmaker. What a title. I love it. So that's what he says right before he is executed, unfortunately. Lord Darkland. Lord Darkland, he goes out like a badass, though. He tries to kind of get in some little snide remarks there about Kristen Cole. And I love kind of the aftermath of this shot, because then Kristen Cole, he's sheathing his sword back, and he starts walking across the camera. You know, he starts kind of walking across the camera, and the camera is following him. And as he's walking across the frame, you see kind of down here at the lower end of the camera, like everybody one by one as he's walking by, all of them bending the knee. And I love that. Was such an amazing shot. I didn't mention this. This episode was directed by Alan Taylor, who directed was it the first episode or the second episode? I can't quite remember. But yeah, we have Alan Taylor back directing another episode. And yeah, the directing of this episode was just remarkable and spot on, you guys. So many like really epic cinematic moments. And yeah, even this small moment of Kristen Cole walking across the screen and just everybody bowing down, bending the knee. Just incredible how that whole little sequence, a really small sequence, but incredible how it was filmed and shot. So then Kristen Cole is saying, okay, we're heading off, whatever direction they're going, and Gawain Hightower is confused, like, but Harrenhal is this way. Why are we going this way? So then that's when we start getting the idea, because we know Kristen Cole and Aemond have been plotting and sneaking around behind the scenes. So this is kind of another little hint here that Kristen Cole had no intention of like heading immediately to Harrenhal. He has another agenda in mind that him and Aemond are totally aware of. But yeah, Gawain Hightower is just really confused and oblivious to, like, why aren't we going to Harrenhal? Why are we going over here to this little small place? So then we move back to another green small council, and Aegon, he's getting news about Daemon taking Harrenhal. Of course, he's pissed off about it, and I love how he just immediately starts blaming Larys for this. Like, why'd you let Daemon take Harrenhal? This is your home, your castle. What the hell, man? And Larys, I love how Larys is like, my lord, that castle is more crippled than I am. Like, Larys he does not care about Harrenhal. To him, I think he's just totally dismissive of Harrenhal. It's nothing. I almost feel like he feels very confident at some point they can take it back. I think Larys has something up his sleeve. He always does. I'm sure he has some sort of grand plan how they're going to take back Harrenhal and how he's going to help influence that, perhaps. So we also, the council's just continuing, they're just talking, Kristen Cole taking castle after castle, which is great. It's working in their favor. They may not have Harrenhal at the moment, but still, people are falling to them left and right. And yeah, the reveal here, we finally get the mention of Rook's Rest. That is the location that Kristen Cole is heading to. And yeah, we kind of get that too. Rook's Rest is inhabited by one of Rhaenyra's small council members, one of the older guys, because he, even in the previous episode, was saying, hey, I'm heading back to Rook's Rest if you need me. So then it's kind of here in the tension of the small council meeting that Aemond is finally revealing that him and Cole had this whole plan to take Rook's Rest. They are using this as a very strategic opportunity to lure out Team Black. And this was a really interesting thing, because even Larys, not only was Aegon really pissed and confused about this whole thing, like, you're plotting behind my back, oh my god, but Larys, interesting enough, because he has, I love the look that he had there really quickly. You gotta really kind of catch it. But he kind of does a quick little turn and looks at Aemond like, what, really? You've been doing this? Like, even Larys didn't even know Aemond and Kristen Cole were up to something behind the scenes. And I think that kind of unnerves Larys there. Larys does not like to be unnerved. He doesn't like to be taken unawares. And so this is kind of one of those few times that Larys is not privy to something going on. He is privy to everything else. So this is one of those things like, oh, interesting. And you guys, we get perhaps the most badass thing that happens in this whole fucking episode. I know we have a big battle sequence. The battle sequence is its own thing. Okay, let's put the battle sequence to the side, because that is its own epic thing. As far as just the small character moments in this episode, this is probably the most badass thing that happened in this episode. Is this part where Aemond, he just starts speaking perfect, fluent, High Valyrian to Aegon. And it was amazing. We saw in the last episode, at the brothel, the whole thing that went down in the brothel, Aemond was absolutely humiliated by what Aegon did at the brothel. And you could tell he was really hurt and angry and really trying to control his impulse to just snap and kill his brother in that moment at the brothel, But yeah, Aemond is able to just completely turn that situation around in his favor and just walks out of there head held high and just completely naked, He was able to take quick control of that situation in his own twisted fashion. So it's like this small council moment with Aemond using the perfect, fluent High Valyrian, like how Rhaenyra and Daemon are, how they speak it. It's just Aemond really trying to just grab this council in his fist and take control of it, because Aegon is certainly not taking control of it. And it's his way of completely humiliating his brother. Now the thing is, the small council, absolutely none of them can speak High Valyrian, I imagine, because they all look kind of confused, like, okay, what are they saying? What are we missing out on? But it's the point that Aemond is definitely humiliating his brother, who is the king, who's supposed to be in charge of this whole situation. But then what happens? Aegon is trying to respond back to Aemond in High Valyrian. It's like he can understand it. You know, he clearly can understand it, but he cannot speak it anywhere near as fluently. And when he tries to speak back the High Valyrian, it's just a complete disaster. It's a complete mess. And that was the whole reason for the High Valyrian. It was Aemon trying to humiliate his brother, trying to prove, hey, I'm the one who has spent the time reading and learning. And what have you been doing? You've just been partying and getting drunk. You can't even speak our own goddamn language. And you're the fucking king. So I loved that. Oh, once again, another Targaryen burn. I loved it. Yeah, Aemon just quickly snapped that small council meeting right in his fist, and it was wonderful. So then we move to Larys he's going off to visit Alicent because she's been absent from the small council meeting. And Larys, he is so quick to focus in on little details, and he sees the moon tea bottle right there on the table. And I think Larys knows what Kristen Cole and Alicent have been up to. That I think that's one of those little details. He knows everything. And he's not fooled, you know. Alicent's trying to kind of play it off that she ate something and her stomach doesn't feel good. Larys knows. He's not an idiot. So Larys is telling her what they were talking about at the small council meeting, and he notes her interest in the history books. There's a bunch of books just lying around Alicent. And again, another hint of her that she is really thinking about what Rhaenyra talked to her about Aegon's conquest and the Song of Ice and Fire. And I think, yeah, Larys is noting all the books, and she's not really saying much about it, but I think this is the show's way that she's trying to figure out her doubts now and trying to figure out this whole misunderstanding. You know, what is the significance of Aegon's conquest and the whole Song of Ice and Fire? You know, is it true? Is it just something Rhaenyra and Viserys made up, you know? So yeah, that's a big deal with the books around her. I like that little subtle kind of detail there. Without really saying much of anything, we the viewer are knowing exactly why all these books are around her after what just happened at the very end of the last episode. And I love this whole conversation with Larys and Alicent. I'm really glad they gave Larys some good stuff to finally do, because he's just been lurking around like a creeper in all the episodes. And Alicent's pretty much saying, you know, we're all going to believe in our own individual causes. We believe in our cause. Rhaenyra believes in her cause. Whoever is the victor, that's who's going to get the throne at the end of the day. Yeah, because Larys is asking her, do you doubt Viserys's intentions, you know, with Aegon and Rhaenyra and all that, you know? And Alicent responds back, the significance of Viserys's intentions died with him. Again, it just doesn't matter. You know, it's too late. Again, Otto Hightower and the Small Council, they had been planning for years the usurpation of the throne. Doesn't matter. Viserys's intentions never mattered. It didn't. And Larys just simply responds when she says that, yes, it did. Yes, his intentions died. So then we move back to Harrenhal. We get some more wonderful hallucinations from Daemon. Daemon, he wakes up again. He starts following a figure with the long hair, dressed all in black, and from a distance it looks like it's Aemond. it genuinely looks like it's Aemond, but when the figure does turn around, it's actually just a doppelganger version of Daemon dressed in cosplay as Aemond. So what's up with that? Oh my god. Once again, no spoilers for the Fire and Blood books. Now, I have been spoiled about something. I'm not going to spoil it, obviously. I have been spoiled about something. And me having been spoiled about this certain thing, this whole thing with the doppelganger and the turnaround and he's cosplaying as Aemond and all that, I do know something about that. I know the significance of this and what it all means. Again, I'm not going to spoil anything, but this is great, wonderful foreshadowing. I loved it. Now, this being said, let me talk about this really quickly. Something that, because this is going back to season 1, because season 1, we had all those time jumps. As much as I loved season 1, the thing is, I wish we could have spent a bit more time within some of those episodes and spending a little bit more time kind of fleshing out some of these relationships that are going to be really pivotal as we kind of progress through the show. Because, like, for instance, like Harwin Strong, we never got to see, like, the exact relationship between Rhaenyra and Harwin Strong, which I would have liked to have seen that, but we never did. Now, this is another thing here with Aemond and Daemon. Let's talk about this, because this is fascinating, and these two are rivals, okay? The thing is, I wish the show back in season 1 had done some more scenes between Daemon and Aemond. I think there was definitely some wasted potential and opportunity there, just because of this whole hallucination sequence, with Daemon following Aemond. It seems like this is really important, why he's having this hallucination, why Aemond. And I don't think season 1 really gave you the why Aemond. Why exactly are they rivals? Like the episode where they go to Laena's burial, I really feel like that episode in particular, we should have had a moment between Daemon and like little Aemond. I really think there was a wasted opportunity there. I think we should have had some sort of scene there. And then, I mean, we get that part, when Daemon slices off half of Vaemon's head, and we do get that quick look, and everybody else is horrified about what Daemon has just done to Vaemond, and the only person who's not shocked is Aemond over there, like, oh wow, this guy's a badass, I love him. He just decapitated that guy. Like, Aemond's the only one who is just thrilled by what Daemon just did. And the thing is, both Matt Smith and Ewan Mitchell, they have mentioned in many interviews this connection and tie that Daemon and Aemond have, and the fact that Aemond is like a fanboy. He is a Daemon fanboy, and it's like Matt Smith and Ewan Mitchell, they really totally understand the nuances and the complexities of their characters, but I don't think the show has built up that dynamic between Daemon and Aemond very well, unfortunately. Especially now that we just got this hallucination, which I think is really important, like I keep saying. And I really wish season 1 had given Daemon and Aemond a couple random scenes. Like I said, Laena's funeral, I think that would have been a great opportunity to show some sort of interaction with Daemon and Aemond, little Aemond. Him starting his hero worship at a very young age. And then, I mean, we get the decapitation of Vaemond in that one episode. And then, another, I think, wasted opportunity. The episode where Viserys dies and, we have the whole big family dinner. I really think we should have had some sort of interaction with Aemond and Daemon there. So I'm a little frustrated now, kind of just in hindsight, thinking back on season 1, like, we really needed some good stuff with Daemon and Aemond, because I feel like this whole hallucination, Daemon following himself as a cosplay of Aemond, it's so fascinating, so interesting, and I feel like people who have not read the books, like I said, I've not read it either, but I've kind of been spoiled about something. I understand what this significance is, and it's like I'm kind of frustrated, even though I'm a non-book reader. It's like I'm kind of a little frustrated because the show hasn't spent that time really fleshing out how much of a Daemon fanboy Aemond is, and that rivalry between the two of them. If you have read the book, let me know how you kind of feel about that. Do you think the show has done enough with Aemond and Daemon, that dichotomy, if you will? Because I'm definitely kind of seeing the lack of it, and I think season 1 should have built that up. So either way, we have that really fascinating, bizarre hallucination, Daemon cosplaying as Aemond. I loved it. And this is where Daemon, he runs into Alice Rivers. We got introduced to Alice last episode. She was the mysterious woman who was like, oh, you're going to die here. Some wonderful foreshadowing there. And we finally get to hear her and see her, and Damon is asking her, what, are you like the Grand Maester here? And she's like, well, no, not really. He kind of took off, so I'm kind of occupying that role. So we get the idea that Alice is a healer. Is she a witch? Damon seems to think she's some sort of supernatural being. I think he seems to think she's some sort of witch. And I think we, the viewer, are left kind of wondering, is she the one responsible for his hallucinations? What's going on there? I mean, we know that Harrenhal is just naturally cursed. It's naturally cursed. It's been cursed since the day it was built. So there's like so many supernatural factors here. What is under the control of Alice? What is under the control of just Harrenhal itself? Or is there no magic? You know, is all of this just deep down Damon's psychology? You know, his own dark, twisted mental place, and he's just trying to throw out somebody like, oh, you're responsible for making me feel this way, you know? So I loved Alice Rivers. She's just such a breath of fresh air in this universe, because she's a bit of a comedic character almost, which maybe that's hiding a deeper, dark side within her. I don't know, but I loved her immediately. And at one point, Damon says, "You are a strange kind of woman," and she just responds with that whole thing, "Oh, I'm a barn owl." Maybe she really is. And then the next thing that happens, she gives him a cup. He drinks from it. He has yet again another hallucination. But this time he wakes up and he is at a small council meeting, but he's barely cognizant what's kind of going on. It's like he's sort of at the meeting, sort of not. He starts seeing Lena walking around again, that guilty part of his conscience that she is manifesting there. And yeah, everybody else sees that he's acting weird, obviously. And yeah, this is where we meet up. We're meeting with William Blackwood. We saw the whole Bracken and Blackwood thing that happened in the start of last week's episode. And yeah, we get the idea that the Blackwoods are Team Black, and they're there to give their army if needed, is what it sounded like. So then we move into another Team Green Council meeting, and it's all really kind of hushed and muffled. We're mostly in Aegon's point of view. He's not paying attention to anything. He's just sitting there playing with the little circular ball thing, and he just has this outburst, and he's like, "You all bore me," and he just leaves the council meeting, and they all just continue on without him. You know, like, okay, whatever. So then we have this really wonderful scene with Alicent and Aegon, and again, going back to the history books, because we saw that she had all those history books around her. She's trying to look up more about the Conquest and more about the Song of Ice and Fire, if it exists anywhere, and she's very upset that Aegon has gotten rid of all of the history books. He's put them somewhere. So she's really irritated about that, because, you know, Viserys was such a lover of history. He loved all that stuff. And Aegon finally just lets everything out here. He's irritated and upset that no one is listening to him. He's really young. He's ignorant to the ways of kingship. Viserys never taught him a damn thing. He's very vulnerable in his own way. He tries to not act vulnerable, but he is. He definitely has his insecurities about being a king. We already saw Larys put that little seed of doubt in Aegon's head that, hey, if you take off, your mother and your brother are going to try to take the throne, you know? So Larys definitely did a good job there, you know, really getting into Aegon's insecurities and his paranoia, you know, that someone is going to try to overthrow him. And this whole scene, Olivia Cook just probably had some of the best lines of dialogue in this episode. This whole thing where she's had enough of this bullshit with Aegon. She's had enough. She's tired of everybody walking all over her. She's already in pain. She had the moon tea. She's probably cramping and bleeding. She don't feel great. You know, it's like, I'm just done with this bullshit. I'm just going to tell you what I think. And she's saying to him, do you think the crown just automatically imbues you with wisdom? She's talking about the small council, that every single guy on that council, they have earned their seat. You certainly didn't earn your seat. And she's just essentially saying to Aegon, you need to be silent. You need to learn from your betters. You need to be half the king your father was, which, woo, another burn, but a high tower burn. Not a Targaryen burn, but a high tower burn. And Aegon, you can see he's visibly just getting more upset and irritated, like, I know you're my mother, but I'm also your king. How dare you speak to me this way? And then Alicent just kind of cuts him off. She's like, well, what are you going to do to me? Are you going to silence me? Are you going to kill me? Are you going to banish me? You already got rid of Otto Hightower, who was the best thing going for this fucking council, and you got rid of him. And she just keeps going. You have no idea the sacrifices we all made for you. I think really more like the sacrifices I made for you, my wasted youth on you. And she's saying again, the best thing that you can do, the only thing we are asking you to do, we just want you to do nothing. Nothing. And there is so much truth in that, because then Aegon, he decides to take action. He goes against everything she just said. He goes against her, and we see the fallout of what happens at the end of this episode with Aegon, when he should have done nothing. So we move from that scene. We just have a really quick moment where we're establishing Rook's Rest, and we see Cole and the army getting themselves prepped, and Gwaine Hightower still just kind of wondering, what the hell are we even doing here? You want to fight in broad daylight? Dude, you're crazy. So we have all of that really quickly. So then we move back to Dragonstone, and Rhaenyra finally appears in this episode, you guys. She's been absent this whole episode. Rhaenyra finally returns back to Dragonstone, and Jace, rightfully so, is so pissed off. I loved this scene with Jace. Harry Colette's performance was really wonderfully done. Like, just his irritation. It's like, you left us, you didn't say where you were going, and the small council is just getting so irritated, and we can't do anything without you. Where have you been? And she does admit that she's been in King's Landing, and she talked to Allison, and of course everyone is like, oh my god, hell no, you didn't just do something so stupid. But she sure did. And Rhaenyra is basically saying, hey, I know and understand that I have been reluctant to war, but I needed to know that there was no other path forward, and I have my answer now, and I'm ready to cause chaos, and I'm ready to unleash the dragons. And I love this line, and Emma Darcy just said this whole thing so well. Many have seen my caution as weakness. Let that be their undoing. Yes, another Targaryen burn. I need like an infographic, like Targaryen burn. So initially, she just wants to fly out immediately to Rook's Rest. And this is another situation of, you know, it's like Aegon. Aegon is the king. Aegon can't go out there and fight. It's the same with Rhaenyra. Even though Rhaenyra wants to prove her worth as well, she is way too important to the cause. So it's not a good idea for Rhaenyra to head out there either. And then Jace is like, well, let me go. But yeah, Jace is way too inexperienced. He has one of the smaller dragons. So then it finally comes around to Rhaenys. Rhaenys, knowing that she is the oldest, she's the most experienced, she has one of the bigger dragons. This is definitely a sacrifice play, a move, a possible suicide mission. I think she totally knows that, and she's like, send me, I'm heading out, and no ifs, ands, or buts about it. End of discussion. So then we get this wonderful, fantastic montage right here, right before we head into the battle at Rook's Rest, where Rhaenyra is finally telling Jace the whole Song of Ice and Fire prophecy. And I've been wondering when she was going to bring this up to Jace, because we know the Targaryens, each person, they share it to whoever their next successor is. So I've been curious when she was going to share this finally with Jace, considering that at any moment she could die, and the Song of Ice and Fire could die with her. So she's finally telling him this whole thing, and once again, it's so wonderfully done, this montage sequence, as we cut from like her and Jace, and we cut to Aegon getting on Sunfire, and then Rhaenys getting on Meleys, you know, and what Kristen Cole and Gwaine are up to. It's all just really well choreographed, and the music that's playing on top of it. It's like you have Alan Taylor's great directing in this moment. You have Ramin Djawadi's wonderful music playing on top of this. You have all the wonderful acting performances on top of this. It's just such a great combo that comes together. And I liked what Rhaenyra is saying here to Jace. Why this Song of Ice and Fire is so important at the end of the day. Because she is saying the horrors I have just released cannot just be for a crown alone. Viserys made a really big point of saying, you know, something is coming sometime in the future. It could be years from now, it could be decades from now, could be centuries from now. We, the viewer, know it's not going to happen until Game of Thrones with the whole Night King and the Wall and the White Walkers, you know. We know that it's like much, much later. But these characters don't know that. They don't know when this prophecy could happen. So Rhaenyra, she knows that someone has to carry this Targaryen legacy of knowing this prophecy, and that a Targaryen, the proper heir needs to sit on the throne at the end of the day in order to save the realm. It's all about protecting and saving the realm, and they need to secure that legacy. So yeah, the horrors I have just released cannot just be for a crown alone. Woo, another Targaryen burn. Okay, you guys, so let's get into the battle at Rook's Arrest. Damn, I love this whole battle sequence, and the thing is, there's a really nice simplicity to the battle. I think it definitely has its fair share of spectacle, but it's also just very easy to follow. I think I'm the type of viewer that sometimes I have a difficult time watching battle sequences because sometimes I can get a little easily bored. I can get a little easily overwhelmed, and I can kind of forget, like, okay, whose side is what's going on here. But I think the way this particular battle was filmed and edited and whatnot, I had a pretty clear understanding of exactly what was going on, and I was never confused. I felt that that intensity and insanity that was going on, and yeah, the battle in general just so incredibly well shot and choreographed, and yet in broad daylight. You guys, a lot of times, a lot of this stuff that has been happening, especially like on Game of Thrones, a lot of the battles happen at night because it's a way for the film crew and the editors to hide up any CGI, hide up any mistakes with the battles, you know. But yeah, this battle was done in broad daylight, which was definitely a risky move, I think, on the filming, but it totally worked. And I just believed in the dragons. You know, the CGI on the dragons was remarkable. It was incredible. I mean, I really believed we had dragons up in the air fighting against one another. I never had a doubt. You know, there was never something weird. You know, there was never like a glitchy moment that I was like, oh, that didn't seem right. It was so effective and powerful, and I felt like this was just so real. So the battle is initially starting off well for Team Green, obviously. They're taking Rook's Rest, and we know that Aemond and Kristen Cole, this was their whole plot, their whole agenda. This whole thing, instead of taking the easy move of taking Harrenhal, this is kind of their little side mission because we need to lure out somebody from Team Black because we know Dragonstone is not too far away from here. They're going to obviously send somebody out to investigate this whole thing. That's our opportunity to try and take out a dragon if possible. So everything's going well initially, and Gawain is saying, was this your big grand plan? And Cole's like, oh yeah, it is. But then this is where things start to go wrong because Aegon and Sunfire come in. And Kristen Cole and Aemond have been trying to avoid Aegon coming into this situation, obviously. So here comes Aegon and Sunfire. Oh my god, I love Sunfire. This is not part of the plan. Aegon and his dragon are most certainly not part of the plan. Things are starting to go a little bit downhill from here. And we get this incredible fight sequence up in the air with Aegon and Rhaenys, and it's all pretty dramatic. You know, their dragons are pretty comparable, I think. It's a pretty even match. And you guys, oh my god, Aemond just comes on in with Vhagar, and I thought we were going to have a fight, you know, the brothers against Rhaenys. I was like, oh, this is going to be so badass. The brothers uniting in this moment to take out Rhaenys and her dragon. But no. Aemond, I should have suspected this all along. Just all of the humiliation that Aemond has been suffering and feeling, and then, yeah, him taking control of that small council meeting, speaking in High Valyrian, knowing that he is probably the most rightful king, which I think he is. Aemond, he very deliberately, you guys, oh my god, he very deliberately is looking in the direction of Aegon and Sunfire and says Dracarys. And Aegon, oh my god, I definitely felt a bit bad for Aegon in this moment. You know, Aegon thinking, oh, my brother's coming to help me, we're gonna unite and we're gonna take out a dragon, yay. And Aegon, his excitement and joy just completely vanishes when he realizes what Aemond is about to do, and Aegon is engulfed in flames, and him and Sunfire just go crashing down, you guys, and we're left with the question of their fate. And seriously, guys, Aemond Targaryen, at this point, you guys, I am just totally bending the knee to Aemond Targaryen. Not necessarily Team Green, but I am just bending the knee to Aemond Targaryen after the chaos and badassery he just had. It was amazing. So then Aemond and Rhaenys are fighting. They kind of get locked in a spiral as well. I liked how, I believe it was Alan Taylor who was talking about when they were kind of plotting out this sequence that they were trying to mimic like birds of prey. You know, when hawks are like fighting in the air, they're using their talons and scraping and clawing. I definitely got that wonderful visual here of these two birds of prey up in the sky, you know, very much like hawks. And yeah, Rhaenys and Aemond, they are down. And this was a great sequence, you guys. This slow-mo sequence where people are running and slow-mo, and then here comes Vhagar. You just see like the tip of Vhagar's wing, and then you start to see the whole of Vhagar as Vhagar's kind of moving on the ground through all of these people and all these soldiers. And it's like, well, are you killing your own people? Because seriously, I think they were killing their own people. They weren't just killing people for Team Black, but I feel like they were killing their own people as well, and I don't think Aemond cared. You know, I don't think he cared who he was killing. So what an incredible sequence of the slow-mo, the soldiers running as Vhagar and Aemond are like going right through the crowd, you know. And yeah, Criston Cole gets knocked out in this moment, you guys. He's down for the count temporarily. And we get the epicness that is Vhagar taking out Meleys, you guys. And this is what I was saying at the start of this review. How am I supposed to support a Team Black after this when Team Green has Vhagar, who can just come on in, just grab a dragon's neck and just suffocate a dragon or rip out the throat or just completely decapitate a dragon? You know, seriously, I might have to just flip sides here and go to Team Green after this, because I don't understand how anybody gets the better of Vhagar at this point. I honestly don't know how you take down Vhagar. How? And this was, oh god, this whole sequence was so well done, and I was getting very highly emotional because, again, Rhaenys, I think Rhaenys went into this whole situation knowing this was a possible suicide mission, that her and Meleys were possibly not coming out of this alive. And I love those looks Rhaenys and Meleys were given to each other, you know, the deep dragon bond and dragon rider bond that they have with one another. It's so effective, and you feel that emotion with just them looking at each other. And yeah, Vhagar just, it looks like Vhagar just suffocated Meleys, you guys, because Meleys is a pretty big dragon as well, but Meleys was pretty like armored. Like Meleys had a lot of like spiky scales and stuff, so I think it was a bit more difficult, you know, because like when Vhagar took out Lucerys's dragon was smaller and nowhere near as scaly, because when Vhagar took out that dragon, just completely took out the head, you know, completely decapitated that dragon. And I think Meleys is a bit built of stronger stuff, that was more difficult to totally get rid of Meleys. So it seems like Vhagar just grabbed Meleys's neck and just was strangling that poor dragon. Oh my god, it was pretty brutal, you guys. The poor dragons. And I will say that, once again, I've not read the books, but I have been spoiled. I was spoiled to the fact that Rhaenys and her dragon were going to die in this particular episode. I didn't know how it was going to transpire, but I knew that this death was coming, so I wasn't really shocked about the death. But even though I wasn't shocked, I still felt really highly, it's still highly effective to me, and I definitely was very emotional about it, because I was definitely on the verge of tears as Rhaenys and Meleys were going down in slow-mo to their demise. And that final look that Aemond has as they plummet down to earth, and just Aemond, his absolute victory of this situation. Damn, again, I am bending the knee to Team Aemond Targaryen, you guys. So then, when you think the episode is over, in fact, it is not. Criston Cole finally wakes up. He is stunned. He can barely even breathe. I think he was just stunned so badly when he fell off the horse. And then it doesn't help that just the smoke and fire everywhere that's just filtering right into his lungs. Yeah, he's in a bit of a rough patch there when he finally wakes up, and it's just chaos, and he's confused. His whole army, it looks like his whole army has practically been decimated. There's barely anybody left alive. I love that touch. Oh my god, that touch where that he goes up to that soldier like, hey, we gotta go look for our king, and he touches that soldier who looks like he's just on his knees, but then you pan around and the guy is just complete ash. And by touching this poor guy, the guy just crumbles into ash. Ooh, I loved that effect there. That was great. And yeah, Kristen Cole, like, what the hell? And Kristen Cole, he finally heads out into the woods because he can kind of see where Aegon and Sunfire crashed, because there's like smoke and flames everywhere. And when he does stumble upon Aegon, you guys, we have this really great, interesting moment where it looks like Aemond is about to finish off Aegon. Yeah, guys, he has his sword drawn, like he is going to finish the job. Now, that's kind of a question. Was he going in there to just totally finish off Aegon? Like, you have humiliated me my entire life. This is my moment of triumph, and I'm going to kill you, and I'm going to take the crown. You know, was that what that was about, or was it more of a thing of a mercy killing? You know, like, here's my poor brother. He fell. It is my bad, but I'm going to do a mercy kill. I'm going to kill you so you don't have to suffer. You know, I think it's more option A. I think he was going in for the intent of killing his brother, because he has been humiliated one too many times at this point. Kristen Cole stops Aemond, because this is not part of the plan. This is most certainly not part of the plan to kill Aegon. And what does Aemond do, you guys? Instead of going up to his brother and being like, hey, you okay? He just walks away, leaving Kristen Cole there with Aegon and Sunfire on the ground. Their fates very much uncertain. So are they dead? Again, I have not read the book, so I don't know if they're alive or dead, to be quite honest. I have not been spoiled about that. I do not know. So, to me, as a viewer, I think it would be much more interesting if Aegon is alive, because I think that would cause some really great stuff there. How much is Aemond going to be able to get by with? You know, because is Aegon going to remember what Aemond just did to him? You know, or is he going to kind of cower away from that? Is he going to be terrified of Aemond now? So I'm curious if Aegon is alive. I feel like he's not, because I think it would be more interesting if he is alive. Now, Sunfire, I'm not sure about Sunfire. I'm a little upset if Sunfire is dead, after we finally got Sunfire in all their glory. So I will be upset if Sunfire's dead. Yeah, Aegon, oh my god, it's like you sort of feel bad for him, but sort of not. Because once again, that brothel scene last week just really just turned me off from Aegon, you guys. Just the complete humiliation of Aemond, because I'm, like I said, I'm team Aemond at this point now. Yeah, what is Aemond going to do? Is he going to lie about this whole thing, that he had nothing to do with his brother's near death or his death? We don't know how it's going to turn out. Yeah, what is his intent? Does he intend on taking the throne for himself? Does he intend on taking the throne? Does he intend on taking Helena as his wife? All of our fan fiction dreams will come true if that happens. Yay. So yeah, I am so excited and so pumped for what's going to happen next week, what Team Green is going to do, because who won this battle? You know, that's kind of the big question here. Who technically won this battle? Because we lost Rhaenys, which is a huge deal to Team Black. That is one of their most pivotal players, and also a pivotal dragon, because that's one of their largest dragons. So it's definitely a big down for Team Black. And then yeah, Team Green, they were still uncertain about what happened to Aegon and Sunfire. So there's that loss there to a degree. Whether or not Aegon's dead or alive, it's still a loss. And they did lose quite a lot of soldiers, it looked like. They got a whole slew of soldiers wiped out there. So it's like, who is in the lead right now? I feel like Team Green, after this battle, you know, just simply for taking out Rhaenys alone, I feel like Team Green is in the lead. And seriously, that's going to be the fun of watching this show, because I think it's going to go up and down. It's going to rapidly go up and down with this show, that Team Green is on high one moment, but then Team Black is on high the next. You know, it's going to go severely up and down. I'm super excited about that. But oh my god, you guys, seriously, I know this video is long. Thank you for sticking around. Definitely tell me your thoughts about this episode down below. If did you love it? Did you hate it? What were your favorite parts? Is anybody else weirdly like Team Aemond at this point? Just bend the knee right now to Team Aemond, please. That's where I'm at mentally right now. Team Black, seriously, I have been Team Black, but Team Black needs to get their act together, because they're just going downhill at this point. As much as I love Team Black, good God. So, you guys, let me stop this video right here. So, you guys, that is it for my thoughts and feelings on this episode of House of the Dragon. As I said, leave your thoughts down below. I'm definitely going to be back here next week for the next episode. I cannot wait. So that's it for this video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you like this video, you may like these other videos. Bye, guys.